Hey Moonies, welcome to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. I'm your host, Victoria L. Johnson, and I'm here with Will Evans and Omar Holman, founders of Black Nerd Problems and authors of the book Black Nerd Problems. So, hey guys, how you doing?
Doing great. Feeling great. How you feeling, Will?
I'm good. I'm perpetually tired, but I mean, that's just, that's
Is that tiredness from Tsushima?
it's not. It's not. I have not gotten the opportunity to play as much Tsushima. I'm just tired in general because life is demanding as all hell. So that's kind of it. That's kind of it. But I'm good. So,
God.
I too am perpetually tired, so I completely get you. Except I don't have Tsushima as an excuse, as a reason. So I don't know what's going on with me.
do you game?
Mm-hmm.
Do you game?
I semi-game. I used to game like when I was younger, like Kingdom Hearts, Grand Theft Auto, all the fun stuff.
Wait. The pairing of examples.
I know it's all over the place, right?
Kingdom Hearts and then Grand Theft Auto. That's a lot. That's range. That's range right there.
That was a sick pairing. That was a sick pairing.
It was whatever was available at Hollywood Video.
Look, we just met. I wasn't going to call that, serial killer behavior, but like that's a big gap between those two.
You know what it was? See, I grew up with 3 older brothers, but all my cousins were girls, and I feel like I just had everyone just had different tastes. So just and I'm the youngest of everybody, so I was just grabbing everything from above me. Like, oh, you're playing Grand Theft Auto? I'm about to play Grand Theft Auto. Oh, you're playing Need for Speed? Oh, you're playing Kingdom Hearts?
Fair. Very fair.
It, yeah. So, not a serial killer yet, but
I mean, we all working towards our perfect selves. So, you never know.
Exactly. But and the apocalypse is on us at any moment.
That's real. Just live out your wildest dreams. There's no consequences. The meteor is crashing into the earth. You're good.
Right. Yeah. We'll be good. Speaking of meteors crashing into the earth.
Great segue. That's amazing.
Nice.
Thank you. Little plot point in a little show called Sailor Moon. I like to ask each guest who comes on the show, what's your first memory of watching Sailor Moon? And I guess, Will, if you want to go first.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've heard, I shouldn't admit this out loud, it's almost sacrilege to folks. But one, I'm an old. So when Sailor Moon was probably the most popular amongst my contemporaries, I wasn't watching it kind of in the same places. So my first interaction with watching Sailor Moon, at least watching beyond memes and reference videos and whatnot, right, was probably Crystal, when Crystal dropped. And so someone was like, hey, you never watched Sailor Moon, you should watch this. I'm like, all right, cool. And then they were like, so yeah, I kind of want you to watch the original. I was like, oh, this is a gateway? That's what you're trying to do? You're trying to trap me? He's trying to trap me? He's trying to if they were trying to test and see if I had any interest in it. And once I did, they were like, so here, let me slide you this Google Drive right quick, right? Because that's how we had to do anime until everything got on streaming. Let me hand you this Google Drive of some real rap raw Sailor Moon stuff, right? That was predated Crystal. So Crystal was my entry, but then, as long as I had access to this Google Drive, I went back and watched some of the original stuff. And so that was kind of how I started watching some of it. And because of that nature, I never got to watch 5 episodes in a row. It'd go hey, I got episode 1 and 2, and then I couldn't get the rest, so then it's gonna skip to 7. I hope you're cool with that. I'll give you backstory. It was one of them situations. So my viewing was scattered, but that's basically that was my initiation.
Okay.
That's hilarious. And I love that. Especially because it's funny you started this saying you're older. And that's actually the introduction for a lot of younger fans right now. We had I want to say 12-year-old person on the show. And yeah, Crystal was also their introduction to the show. But I love the bait and switch though. Shout out to that. What about you, Omar?
Oh, man, I too will admit things where I was not big on it, but I do know Sailor Moon because right before school in back in the state of New Jersey, my favorite state, before elementary school, I used to get up at around 6:00, and it was like a cartoon block that would happen, and so they'd show the original Sailor Moon. And then they would show Iron Man and it'd be Iron Man or Iron Man, Fantastic Four, or the Incredible Hulk. It was like one of those two, but it was always Sailor Moon that was the intro to it. And so I was like, all right, well, I mean, I'm up at 6, like, all right, I'm just gonna watch this. I had no idea what it's about. This girl and going to school, she transforms. She's got a bunch of goons with her, and the squad gets larger and larger each episode. Like, all right, I'm in. Let's get this going, man.
Yeah, I love the confessionals that are going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
I love the honesty too. Like it's great. Also, I've never heard someone say New Jersey, my favorite state, in the same sentence. So I'm really gonna.
You got to hold on that. You got to hold on that. Yeah.
Yeah. That is cool though. Yeah, I definitely Sailor Moon in the mornings was special. Definitely special. I love to. You're right, because it was like every episode. It was like, oh, she has a new person. Oh, there's a new person. Oh, there's another new person. Okay. Till it gets to like 10, and it's like, oh, we're rolling deep.
The game just kept getting bigger and bigger. I'm like, this feels like some Power Rangers show. All right, I'm still here. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. And then y'all just jump that main villain. Like, all right, yeah, I'm with this. Right. You're getting stomped out in a schoolgirl uniform. Yeah. We hard over here, fam.
All facts. Yeah, and actually was inspired by like the Japanese Power Rangers. I always forget the name. Super Sentai? Is that it? Something like that.
I'll defer to you for that.
I don't know. I forget the name. But yeah, so yeah, Power Rangers, the Japanese original, was like inspiration for Sailor Moon.
Uh-huh.
So there is something there. Do either of you have any favorite episodes or moments that you might remember in this watching?
Anytime Ray was arguing with with Sailor Moon. I was gonna pronounce. I always say it's not Usagi, not Usagi, correct?
It's Usagi.
Damn, I was so close. Anytime Ray was arguing with her, I'm like, cause he was my favorite at first. Ray, I was like, oh yeah, I like this energy. Then I saw Sailor Venus, and I'm like, there's something about that. Yeah, we like this energy, the silly energy too.
So, I was gonna say the one that always sticks with me is probably Venus. Like the vigilante. Right, like the mask up. I'm patrolling these streets, even though I don't think it was at night. But like, anyways, like I'm out here doing justice. And then like I also remember from Venus, like the whole like juggling a couple boyfriends thing, which always cracked me up. And it was like, nah, get yours, right? Like. You know what I'm saying? No, it's like, why you got to be out there? It's because I'm out here, right? Like, nah, own that. So that just like always stuck out to me. Though, was it? Man, I hope I don't mess any of this up. Was it Neptune and Uranus that's like always on the front lines, right? Like when stuff was always going down, I felt like they were always on the front line. And so, as from my perspective, I always love when they in the muck. Right? like the first line of defense. So bonus points for that.
So true. And I don't know if you saw the recent movie that came out, Sailor Moon Eternal, but Venus was even like, Ray was like, oh, I'm like having a hard time keeping up with all the like chores and the temple. And Venus was like, well, maybe just get like a house husband. He can take care of all that.
That's that energy right there. That's that energy right there.
He was like, it's free help. That's hilarious. Yeah, Venus is great. I love you. So would you say that's both of yours like favorite? It kind of seems like that's where things are leaning.
Yeah, I gotta give it. It's Venus, then Ray, then.
I would go Venus. I would go Venus. Yep.
Jupiter's an honorable mention because I know she can dunk.
Yeah, I feel like I always say Jupiter is the unofficial Black person fave. Or I feel like every Black person just loves Jupiter, and so it's just like an automatic. I don't know what it is, but yeah, maybe it's because we know she can dunk. Well, I do want to talk about you guys a little bit because you guys are doing amazing things. So first, I'm gonna take you all the way back after watching Sailor Moon, but before now.
Mm-hmm.
How did the Black Nerd Problem site come about? Like, what inspired you to create this site?
I really think. I mean, the most concise version of it is Omar and I. We were nerds. We were always talking about these things, and I think that's kind of persevered through into the book and everything else, and that like a lot of these topics are based on just conversations, right? And they're hopefully the way that we talk about them in the book is has a conversational tone. And so we'd always have these conversations, but we then, something would happen. Let's say, when Sam Wilson became Captain America, right? And there's like a whole big thing about, Captain America is going to be black now. And what was very predictable, though Black No Problems already existed, but this is just an example. We would get like very predictable media coverage of it, right? Like not only did you have a lot of, let's just be real, you just had a lot of white fans that would express outrage anytime there was someone black or someone like a marginalized character kind of taking center stage of something. So you always had that situation anyway, but then it was just a very predictable media critique or response to it. And I think we just kind of got tired of seeing that and realizing that it was very white in the responses. There just weren't a lot of people of color that had kind of any kind of power or influence, whether it be on websites or radio shows or, podcasts, that kind of a thing, for that kind of pop culture nerd criticism. So I think that was the catalyst of us being like, maybe we could do this. And we didn't just want to do just Omar and I. Like we knew some folks that were, and, I want to say 80% of the people, Omar, we knew from like Tumblr and Twitter. Like that was, yep. That was
Tumblr before the snap.
Right.
Tumblr.
That was the beginning of our Black Nerd Problems contributors, were folks that we interacted with on different social media platforms, and maybe we had live tweeted a show with them, maybe we shared Tumblr posts with them and just got to know them that way. And those were our first writers, our first contributors, and that was pretty much how we started. So we started because we felt like there was a void there, and we grew our folks, from like social media and whatnot.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And Omar, did you want to add anything?
That's the story we tell people, so we don't get in trouble legally. Illegally, I had some packs to move. No, packs. He means comic books. We got a comic book smuggling ring. That's about it, man. And we went from 9 to like 30 something people on staff, proofreaders, streamers. Writers, contributors. 7 years. It's been a long journey. It's been a fun journey though.
Yeah, I remember you're right though. I mean, both of you, like, as far as there was a need for, I think, this kind of site, because I remember, like you said, we kind of got the same kind of things. I just remember it was the first time I saw, I don't know, this might sound mean, but smart stories about.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like Black nerd culture. Like I was just like, oh, like someone's actually like doing essays and like interviews and like not just the same 5 things I see all the time.
Oh, you don't want the fast food rap? You don't want the fast food essays, Victoria? You don't want the one line and a GIF, or one more line and a GIF, one more line. You ain't about that?
Twitter, especially when it's like one line, a GIF, then an ad. One line, an ad.
Yep. Or a tweet that they didn't get permission to use. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just remember like feeling like, man, this is really, really cool. Just like the essays and just like the variety of essays and articles and things that you were covering, and like things especially at that time, because I feel like 7 years ago, we were really starting to get like a emergence of like indie Black creators. And so it's just like really, really cool to see you guys covering that. So yeah, like I said, I've been a fan.
I think it helps because Omar and I came in as writers. You know, like we
Mm-hmm.
we didn't necessarily just come in like, hey, we enjoy reading comic books and we talk about it and let's just like try to put that on the internet some kind of way. We came in as, you know, our trade, so to speak, already were as writers. And so that's how we entered into the site and moved throughout the site and what we put out. And then that's what kind of attracted us to folks that were kind of doing that. We wanted to, you know, be writers, but also at the same time, I think that we wanted to change what folks thought of as like thoughtful criticism. Like it could still be in our voice, right? And I think that was, I think that was the big thing that was our strength, and also early on gave us the most friction outside of us, was because we weren't compromising how we sound, you know. We're going to cuss. We're going to use our own language. We're going to use, you know, hip hop references. We're going to do all these things within the language that we enjoy, that makes it entertaining for us and that we understand. And so I think hopefully with this book, you know, it being a published book coming out of one of the big houses, that it kind of proves like we're trying to reinvent that language in a way that like not every book has to sound the same, not every critique has to sound the same. And so when you say like it sounded smart, like I'm happy to hear that you had that impression, because you know, you know, we still saying motherfucker with like 3 U's in it, right? Like we're still saying, we're still speaking in a language that we feel comfortable in, and if it still came across as intelligent and thoughtful, then that's a win-win for us.
Yeah, I think definitely win-win for me too, just having that duality, because that's kind of where I try to live too, where like I try to, you know, be myself, but also I want to come across as, you know, an intelligent person. But right. No matter whether or not I am. But yeah, I definitely want to talk about the book in a bit. But I want to ask first, when for both of you was a moment you realized like this site, and I'm not knocking blogs, but like that it wasn't just like, oh, we just started this thing like blog to like, oh, this is like going to be bigger than what we initially, or maybe you always initially planned it was going to be bigger. But yeah, when was that moment for you?
We kept like, I mean, we would be referred to as like a blog at times, and I think to ourselves, we didn't like go online. Hey, we are a website. We just be like, all right,
I mean, we still get called a blog. We still get called a blog.
Oh yeah, all right. Well,
I mean, just like keep
not to our face.
To call, okay,
not to our face.
You know, and I mean, Omar, letting you continue. It's like I think at some point that particular title, I was just like, yeah, but you sharing our stuff and we doing numbers. Like that was kind of like, you know, how I rationalize it. There's this amazing quote from the poet, the writer, the scholar, Angel Nafis, who and this is something that Omar and I deal with too, where it's just like the struggle of, okay, I haven't slammed in a poetry slam in years, and I'm a writer and I've still been writing poetry, but people still call me a slam poet. And so someone asked her how she felt about that, like still being called a slam poet years later, having not slammed. And she was like, you can call me a slam poet, a rapper, whatever, as long as people ain't falling asleep during my poems, I don't care. Right. Like that's kind of where we're at in terms of, you know, like, you can call us a blog and call us whatever, but like people are seeing our stuff, they're loving our stuff. And that's when I was kind of like, they're gonna call us a blog. It doesn't matter at this point. But Omar, please continue.
I mean, you know, you made it when you see the comments and they're trash. When that shit's a dumpster fire, it's like, oh, we're here. We done made it. You know what I mean? Because it's all positive in the beginning. Yeah, this is great. This is you in the honeymoon phase. But once it's all lovely, right? It's a good old time. But once the comment section start getting trash, oh, you ain't just a small thing anymore, baby. No, you done moved up, baby. You done moved up. You might not want to move up, but you done moved up, man. So that was I'm putting it in a funny way, but that was the like, oh, okay, I guess this is something bigger than we thought it was. Okay, cool. So how do we navigate that so we make it safe for people that are Black and POC in the space, so we don't have them fighting in the comments and shit like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely once the trolls start caring, you you made it. Yeah.
Once you start trying to spam the site, once I'm like, what? We ain't even do nothing. I ain't even do nothing. What's this attack for? What? Okay, all right.
It means you made it.
Right. I also think, like, in the beginning there was definitely some fake it till you make it, right? Like the reason we wanted to put together what we felt was like, quote unquote, a real looking website. Like, it wasn't going to look like Blogger, right? It wasn't going to look like LiveJournal. Mm-hmm. We wanted to look like a real website with, a header and, pictures in the header and like embedded photos within articles and links and things like that, because we wanted to present like we were for real, right? Even when we had like 9 people on staff and only 4 of them were writing, right? Let's just be very real about that. So I think there was some element of like, let's present like we've been here for a while, even though we're brand new. And I think for me, yeah, definitely like the comment section being crazy is a good indicator. Us ending up on Reddit was a good indicator. Like, oh, okay, we must be reaching some people because people coming from Reddit and talking shit about us.
Which Reddit though? Do you remember the special Reddit we found?
I mean, it was like, I mean, there might have been a Delta strand of Reddit. There might have been like, I don't remember them all.
We found there was this because it was some article that was happening, and I think Will saw like an influx. He's like, this is coming from Reddit. He's like, I don't know how this is happening. Then I think one day I was searching. I guess I randomly came across this. It was a black queer feminist like subreddit or whatever. And I'm like, this what, like, positivity exists here? What? And I showed Will, and Will was like, oh my god, wow. And they shared a lot of our stuff. And then Will was like, erase your steps. We can't bring this. This is the oasis right here. We can't. Like, yeah. I was like, yeah. Burn the history data. That's got to exist as its own thing. We can't. No. We can't interfere with that. That's its own ecosystem.
I feel like there was, and that was like a pleasant surprise, because every other interaction on Reddit was just like mostly white folks getting a hold of our stuff and saying we can't talk or spell and calling us stupid, all this kind of stuff. So that was a pleasant surprise. I mean, I think once we had a couple of articles that went viral in some sense, then like your floor of traffic and how many people view you starts to rise, right? Like, so if only 100 people read your stuff before and then something goes viral and, 500 people have now seen it. Now, even your comic book reviews, 500 people are going to have access to seeing it, right? So like, I think it was almost a cascading effect, that every time we had something that was very popular, we knew that it just meant more eyes were going to be on our everyday stuff. And then, you have those cool moments where like a celebrity, shares an article of yours or, retweets it or something like that. I remember for me personally, I wrote it wasn't a review. I wrote an editorial about Kelly Sue DeConnick, comic book writer, and how she just like subverted this white savior trope with Captain Marvel when she was writing Captain Marvel. And I just wrote an article about it. I wasn't trying to do anything with it except express like this feeling and just being like, this was really dope to watch like a white writer write this very powerful white character and humble them in a very organic and realistic way. And like she shared that on her Tumblr and like said that like she was like super proud of the comic for doing that kind of work and hoping being read like that. And then I end up like interacting with her and being able to interview her. And like, I think in that happened in the first year, that was my indicator. Like, okay, we're really pushing out there. Right. And then what happens is you're like, oh, we can't mess this up now. Like,
wait, Will, real quick, when you got you interviewed her, what they had some folks contacted you to interview about Kelly Sue's work. What magazine was that?
Man, I think it was Variety. Was it Variety or was it?
I think that was
Vanity Fair.
Fair,
It was Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I was like, okay, Black Nerd Problems will get to appear in Vanity Fair. That's right.
Just buried that under there.
and so like it's like I think small, like we kept having small things like that. And then also comic books, we started appearing as quotes on like Marvel comic books.
Marvel covers.
Right, like on their trades. And do you remember the first one of that, Omar?
I can go back and find it right now, but off the top of my head, I do not remember. I don't think it was Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I do not remember off the top of my head.
But it was just like, I was like, oh my God, we're on a Marvel property. I remember Omar and I were on a phone call. And, I called Omar. I was like headed to some event. I got there early. I'm sitting in my car and like we had just like that week had like 2 comic books where we were quoted on, And I called Omar because I was kind of overwhelmed by it. I said, you realize we're on like a Disney property? You realize that like Black Nerd Problems pulled from our website is like exist on a print media that came from Marvel. Like this is not a small thing. Like this is not a small thing. Like not everyone can say that. Not everyone that like said, hey, we're going to start a thing can say something like that. And like, I just tried to live in that moment of knowing that we had accomplished a thing in terms of getting out there that was being recognized in some way.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember which comic it was either, but I remember the first time I saw you guys being quoted on a comic book, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, not that I was there, I was like, "We made it!"
Oh no, you was there. You was there. We all made it. We all made it.
Yeah. I was on the phone call. I was everywhere. Also, I love how you were like saying small things like being published on Vanity Fair. You are like, I need to get on y'all level.
He ran into them at the airport as well. He's got a picture with them at the airport. Kelly Sue and her partner Mac Fraction.
That's awesome. I love her. She's great.
Oh, Kelly Sue's amazing. We just got to. I mean, I got to interview her a couple times. I interviewed her after like the Captain Marvel. We got to talk like in depth about like her methodology, thinking through that character. And this is another thing too. The Captain Marvel in the movie that we see, that's Kelly's Captain Marvel. Like, let's be very clear. Like, that's Kelly Sue's Captain Marvel, right? And like, it's very cool to see that. Like, we're kind of doing the same thing. Omar and I were going back and forth talking about Hawkeye. Like, there's so many things that if there's something in media, like live action or something that you like about Hawkeye right now, it's probably because of Matt Fraction, Kelly Sue's husband, right? Like, but anyway, yeah, like I only say small things because like even in the Vanity Fair, it was like, I don't know, a paragraph, right? Of like a quote from mine and Black Nerd Problems. So like the article wasn't about us, but we got mentioned in it. And it's like, that's a very cool thing because, presumably thousands of people that didn't know we existed before, maybe now they do. But it was cool for that to grow into bigger things where we might be profiled in something, we might be heavily mentioned in something that's beyond a paragraph. But you take those victories, even if they're just 3 or 4 lines in a very popular publication. And it's cool watching those things grow.
Yeah. I completely get that. I've been feeling the same with the podcast, so I definitely understand. Also, Kelly is a Moonie, so shout out to her.
Hey.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys read Bitch Planet, but that is like one of my favorite comics too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's so innovative and just I appreciate risk, right? From writers especially. There's so many things out there, and hopefully this tracks with like what we try to do with Black Nerd Problems. But like, just give me a different way into the house, right? Like, even if I know I'm going to end up in the house, take me through the window, take me through the back door, take me through the attic. Like, find me a different way in. And the way that like writers like Kelly Sue can do that will always hook me, So.
Yeah, completely agree. Speaking of writers who can hook you, I'm really good with transitions.
Yes, you are.
You guys have a book that will be coming out. If you're listening to this when the episode comes out on Monday, it'll come out tomorrow. And if not, it comes out Tuesday, September 14th, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm like, I don't know dates. But yeah, how did the book come about? How did that process go? How did it come about? Oh, okay.
Oh, Will knows better than I do.
Not.
Let me tell you something. There, as my friend Phil once said, like, look, there's people that know what the fuck's going on. There's people that don't know what the fuck is going on. Will, he knows what the fuck is going on. Me, I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah, all right, I can admit that. I work like a mouse. You point, I'll click. That's how I work.
The brain and the heart. It's okay. I get it.
I
get it.
Omar is selling himself quite short, which is what Omar does. But listen,
Spoken like a brain. No, I'm joking.
I mean, just it's so real. It's just like at this point, I'm just like, okay, Omar's gonna do the Omar thing where he just like where he acts like he isn't great. That's fine. No, I think really, the website exists and our writing is out there, and over time we have been just gaining fans we didn't know we had, right? And so I put out a poetry collection in last year, actually. And so during that process, the person, the editor, Natasha Simons, the person who was working with me on that poetry collection, she was really interested and kept asking me. She was like, have you thought about, turning some of your essays from Black Nerd Problems into a book? And when she just said it to me, I was like, yeah, that don't make no sense. Like, why would I do that? I was like, why would I do that?
That's hilarious.
And then she kept talking to me and shout out to our agent, Catherine Latshaw, kept talking to me about it. Like, I think actually it could be pretty good. And I think why I didn't take it seriously at all for a minute was because I was like, well, that's something that Omar and I built. Right. And so I was like, well, let me talk to Omar about it. And so Omar and I talked about it, and Omar's like, what? Right? We would do what? And so, we're talking more and more to our agent, and she's like, no, she's like, this could be a really good thing, and so we just like, okay, so we started putting together like ideas and like what we might want that book to look like, and to give some little behind the scenes publishing stuff. Like we were going to go wide with it, and Simon & Schuster just offered up kind of the world to us and being like, hey, you're going to have the freedom to do this. We want this book to do that. To the point where we were just like, well, let's just kind of go with, like I worked with them previously. We'll go with what we know and some folks that we trust to do it right. And I think the biggest thing for Omar and I, which is what we've worked with Black Nerd Problems from the beginning, is just being like, it just got to be us, right? Like it can't be I write this thing about Disney, which there is a critique about Disney in the book. It can't be I write this thing about Disney and an editor comes in and is like, yeah, I don't think we should say that, right? Like it couldn't be that, and it definitely couldn't be Omar makes a reference to, I don't know, Black people in Newark, and like an editor comes in and is just like, yeah, I don't think people will get that. Like it had to be our language. It had to be how we talk. It had to be about the things we found important. And if we could do all those things, then yeah, sign us up. And so that's kind of how it started. With us putting the book together, and it was a lot of work, but we also wanted to make sure like we had new stuff in there too. So there's plenty of new essays that are in the book. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it came together. I thought it was a joke. Like no, that's not true. I didn't think it was a joke. I thought it was my agent and my publisher doing the thing that's like, so how can we get more content out of you? And not even in a nefarious way of just like, what other ideas do you have, where they're kind of always have that brain working in terms of what's the next thing. And I was just like, yeah, I don't think that works. And I didn't think it worked because the way they were talking about it, at least, they were asking me to write a Black Nerd Problems book. And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't start this thing. Not by myself. So I think once I brought Omar into it and we started talking to what we could do with it, then it started to live in my head as a real thing. And you know, we had a good time writing it. We had a good time writing it, I will say.
That is super cool. Also, I realized I might be making stuff, but you're both poets, right? Is that
yes, Omar is still a poet, though he don't want to claim that. Omar literally had a poetry book come out last year. So like,
I remember that. Okay, I was like, I know I wasn't making things up. Is that how you met, or how did that? Okay, yeah.
We met in 2008, and on the mean streets of Madison, Wisconsin. We were.
I love making that joke.
We're on.
I love making that joke.
I was on the New Jersey team. Will was representing the Columbus team, and so we're at the Nationals. We met in 2008. We just remembered maybe a few days ago, we technically competed against each other individually in 2009, and then our teams competed against each other in 2010.
This should be a Disney movie.
Well, Will was like, had I won against him individual, he's like, he might not be here right now, but I beat him, so it's all right. Because at 2009, we were in Berkeley, California, and I remember it distinctly because Will was in the finals. And we had a bout together, and we faced off. And if you know poetry, you go head to head. It's about like eight or 12 of you, whatever. You slam it out to like top 4, whatever. So we went. We were in the same bout together, and then the next day, I remember we were standing in line. Will was like, "Yo, let me talk to you, man." He's like, "Hey," he was like, "Yo, your work isn't trash, man." He was like, "Yo, this shit's actually good." Meanwhile, I'm like, thank you, because fucking I was making the crowd laugh. The scores did not reflect that shit. The scores, 6.4, 9, 3.2. Like, what is happening?
They cut my man's legs from under him. I'm watching the scores go up. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
It's like
that doesn't even make sense.
Some bias going on.
It really was.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was fun.
Not to go on this tangent, but like there was for a while where I think Poetry Slam audiences have been conditioned that if you were funny, that means not that it wasn't good, but for a long time, no one wanted to score a funny poem higher than like a serious poem, even if the funnier poem was better, right? And so I think Omar definitely got just penalized for that.
My life, baby.
Yeah,
meanwhile, I'm in the crowd losing it. Like, the judges would be like out of breath laughing, and then they'd be like, 6.4, and I'm like, wait, what the hell? It doesn't make sense.
Meanwhile, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, here we go. That's business as usual.
Yeah,
right,
I mean, you see that with the Oscars. I think. Oh yeah, cool. I think you see that with the Oscars. Who's like, comedy movies don't get as much praise as a drama, even if the comedy movie is better. But
right.
Comedy just doesn't get the accolades it deserves. But yeah, so yeah, thank you for indulging me. I was just like, wait, there's a connection here. So I'm gonna ask Omar, what is your favorite essay that Will wrote, and then I'm gonna ask you this afterwards.
Ooh. It might be. It's funny because I didn't get to read because we wrote new stuff for the book as well. Did we write 10 each? We either wrote 20 or 10 each, and then we chose. I think it was 20, and then we chose 10. So I didn't get to read all of Will's stuff until the book was done and having like go through it through edits and everything like that. So I got to see his new stuff, and I was like, "Oh, this is hilarious!" I think it might be it's either the Stringer Bell or You Gotta Let Batman Cook. I think it's the Stringer Bell. A big part of it was because I think I was there when Will had the idea. Was I with you when you had the idea of like go? No. You had done it, or you had like the pieces of it, and I saw you working. It was like, yeah, like all right, here, I got this so far, and I was like, yeah, you got to keep going. Like you can make that longer if you want, but like nah, that's yeah. I'm like I haven't. We have an audiobook, so it's funny. You'll hear Will do this as well, but like I haven't like. I've never had the opportunity to like hear Will read an essay before, like, when he's writing for the site. aloud. So like I'm here like hearing him read this for the first time and something new, and hearing like the way he's done it this is differently than how he'll usually write as well. And so I'm like, oh, and great, it's going in the book too. I'm like, yeah, so it was really, really exciting. So like the excitement of that Stringer Bell piece, I think it beats out the Batman piece, which I really love him as well.
Yeah.
I mean, also if people want to know kind of about the process, like, so, you know, the bulk of this writing Omar and I were supposed to be doing was during the pandemic. And so the pandemic that we're still in. So yeah. Our original, but we started the book before the pandemic started, right? So we had all these plans. We were gonna, you know, we're in 2 different cities, obviously 2 different states. So like we were gonna meet up like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in the year to like get together, bounce ideas, like in person, get together, bounce ideas off each other, write for a weekend kind of a thing. So then the pandemic happens. And like that just doesn't feel possible. So the one time, like I remember I hit Omar up. I'm telling you, without this weekend, I don't think this book exists in the way it does right now. Oh yeah. Because I hit Omar up. I'm like, man, can we meet up, man? Can we just like meet in a city, in a hotel, just hang for a weekend, bounce some writing off each other, bounce some ideas, because I'm stuck. And like Omar was in a similar space, and so we actually just no rhyme or reason to it. We like picked a hotel in DC. We both both made it DC, where we were just like, we just gonna lock it down in a hotel room and figure stuff out. And that was good because we got to piece together like, okay, here's what we've written so far. Here's what we think we need. Here's what we should go over. And so we did like a little bit of writing, but it was so much better to like just scope things out and touch base. And that's when I told him about like the name, what's the name of the essay? The name of the essay is Bury the Stringer Bell, but Let Idris Live. Because I still maintain that like a lot of people love Stringer Bell from The Wire, but he's one of the biggest punk asses on TV ever.
There he is.
So I had an idea of this essay, which is really just me ranting like nonstop. Like it's like barely complete sentences. So it's like, so I bounced some of this off of Omar when we met that weekend. And the way Omar was responding to it, I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of feel like I got validation to keep going with it. Was kind of how that thing was born. My favorite of Omar's, so I'm gonna give you an archive one, and I'll give you one of the new ones too. I still think one of my favorites that Omar did, that he had originally written for the site, it was the Mario Kart reveals who you truly are. Like there's, it's such a brilliant take, and then just, you know, Omar is just hilarious with it. And I'm probably going to surprise him from the new stuff that we had written. But I feel like the first essay in the book, Nerd is in the spectrum, and Nerd is in the person is the spectrum. Because it just is an intro into our world, right? In terms of how we define nerd, how we navigate it, how we came to be this way, and how we want other folks to feel inclusive in this way. And like I think if people just knew Omar and I, knowing our personalities, and then you said, okay, here's the title of this essay, I think probably most people be like, oh, Will probably wrote that because it's so because the approach, but like it's Omar writing it, and it's like this perfect introduction into the book. And it's surprising and refreshing, and just like a good way for people to come into the book and be like, yeah, I'm not going to get every reference because I haven't watched every single thing that these dudes have watched. I haven't read every comic that these dudes have read. But I know I belong here. And I think he just masterfully wrote that as the beginning of our book.
I love that. Omar, you sounded genuinely surprised.
Yeah, I like that piece. It was a hard piece because the editor was like, okay, this is good, but like I really like. I discovered that I really like etymology, idioms, and like where words stem from and how they've evolved and semantics and things like that. And so doing it, feel like, oh, this is fun. And then it's not fun when the editor's like, all right, this is good, but this intro is too bland. Like, oh, here's the definition. No. You gotta spice it up. You gotta spice this up. And I'm like. So I'm like, what do you want me to do? So then I found a way. I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a joke this way to try and lead into this stuff. So yeah, I like that. So I'm like, I'm genuinely surprised. Like, oh man, thank you. That is definitely one to like, oh, Will wrote this. Like, wait, what the fuck? What the fuck? I think you had the first funny piece or like comedic piece in the book, isn't it?
I don't know. Which is the first comedic piece? I think so. Oh, is it Simba? If it's
no. I think it's you're right. It's Simba and then Batman Cook. Yeah, you got.
So that was funny because when we were putting together the order of the book, I was like, wow, people are really not going to know what to think if they know us because I have the first funny pieces in the book. Like, where's Omar? Omar's the comedian. Where's his humor at? He's like talking about like nerd is the spectrum and like, you know, the Green Lanterns as cops and police violence. Like, where's my funny Omar at? Right? Like, but trust me, it's in there. It's in there. Just give it time.
I believe it. And then Omar, if Will was a Sailor Senshi, who would he be?
Jupiter. My man ain't fooling around. My man about the business. That's very stoic. Like that's an easy one. That's a fucking easy one.
Well, who would Omar be?
I think. Oh man, I wish I had thought about this more before, but I'm gonna say Omar probably is Neptune because.
Hey.
And the only reason I say that is because I'm going to embarrass Omar right now. Nobody rides for you like Omar, right? Like, just, you have someone in your corner, has your back. What are you trying to do? How can I help make that happen? Like, Omar is the ultimate support class, right? As far as helping you achieve like the best that you're capable of, and like so to me that sounds like Neptune to me, so I would go there.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a thoughtful answer. And also Neptune, I feel like she's really slick with jokes sometimes, so I feel like that works.
That works.
Yeah.
Yep. So I had this all planned. Yeah. That's where I was going with it.
Love it. I love it. Thank you for indulging me with that. Do you guys talk about Sailor Moon on here a lot, but do you have any other favorite anime?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna let Omar go first because this is the encyclopedia of anime experience over mine. So,
all right, we're not gonna go in any particular order, but we're gonna start off at the top with Demon Slayer. We're gonna give a shout out to our boy Midoriya, young Midoriya, if you nasty, from My Hero Academia. We're gonna go into some GANTZ. It wasn't really that much of an anime, but Netflix did a little special on it. It was pretty cool. The manga was better. We're gonna roll down a little bit and get into motherfucking One Piece, which is cool. A lot of story in there, but the big. I mean, it's an anime, but the manga's still going. Hajime no Ippo, the fighting. You want to talk about heart. You want to talk about anime. When the anime stops, only 3 volumes, you got to go to the manga, son. That manga been written since 1988, 1989, and it's still going. Like, man, don't nobody die in this shit, but it feels like somebody dies when they lose a boxing match, man. I cried for 2 weeks. Just because my man lost a fucking boxing match. What was like, yo, what's wrong? I was like, yo, my man lost a match, man. My man Ippo going through it right now, man. Like, that is good writing. Shout out to George Marikawa.
Yeah, I was sorry. I was thrilled. I always know my boyfriend's sad, and he's like, I'm like, are you sad? I'm like, did you just read Ippo?
Yeah, oh, he reads it too. Yes,
that's amazing.
Man.
So, yes. I get it. Yeah.
Oh man, I think for me, I mean, a lot of what Omar named before. I like really cerebral and like not necessarily always mystery, but like strategy type anime. So like Code Geass is probably one of my all time favorites. Most of Death Note.
Love that answer.
I mean, look, I like all the characters by the end, but like the story falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look at me trying to not give spoilers about Death Note's been around forever. Yeah, I mean, and then, you know, like Demon Slayer, I think Tanjiro is just one of my favorite anime protagonists of all time. I'm very much attracted to like empathetic characters, right? That are just like beyond I'm trying to be the best ever at whatever this thing is. And like I'm not gonna BS either. Like my entry into being like, oh, I watch a little anime to okay, I fucks with it. It had to be Naruto. Like that was my rite of passage. Yeah. Cause like how many episodes are in Naruto?
1,000?
Oh, because like
yeah.
Like once you've watched 600 episodes of something, like you were in that genre. It don't matter anywhere else in there. But also special shout out to Madoka Magica, because like that flipped my understanding of like of anime as well, right? In terms of like all the roles that you think anime characters fit into and how it kind of subverted that. And like I watched that before I watched like Sailor Moon Crystal, actually, right? So like yeah, shout out to that one too.
Oh man, I can't imagine watching Madoka before Sailor Moon. That would just I'm
watching. Granted, there's some stuff in there. Yeah. I'm watching Sailor Moon. Like, okay, but when does like the really bad stuff happen? It's like, oh, I mean, bad stuff happens, but we're still gonna overcome. Yeah. Right? Like, yeah. Monica was just like, the worst thing you thought can happen, like it's gonna happen in 5 minutes. Yeah. I just need you to prepare.
And that's it. We made that overcome.
Oh, I also want to shout out the grittiest, grimiest animes was I always forget about this one. What was it? GANGSTA and fucking Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans. Those
those were great.
They were in the trenches there.
Those were great.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a choice of my next question. Give advice for someone who wants to start. I'm going to call it the Black Nerd Multiverse. Start both sides to a book. Nice. Keeps expanding Twitch channels. So advice for someone who wants to start their own multiverse of sorts, or advice for writing a book. So whichever one you want to answer.
I think we should go with the most. I mean, we can do both.
Yeah, you do one. I'll do one. What's it?
I'll do the.
I knew he was gonna do that, jerk.
Listen, let me tell you something. You want to get in this content shit? Listen, you better put your ego to the side and put your imposter syndrome to the side. You just got. I know it's gonna sound cliche and like, oh yeah, just do the work. Nah. You gonna do the work. You gonna do the writing. You gonna do the memes. You gonna do the editing. You gonna do the cutting. You gonna have to eat. You gonna have to breathe this shit. You gonna have to eat fucking content and shit content. That's what you gonna do. That's what you gonna do. You gonna let your passion ride you out through this. That is actually my my honest advice. But actually, I should say, you can be passionate about something and you can give your time to that, but also keep in mind to take time for yourself, because it's not really about it's something you want to enjoy doing and putting out there, but also having time for yourself so you don't get burned out from it or it doesn't become fun anymore. Because once something you enjoy becomes a job, it's like, So in order to keep it as something you love, pace yourself with what you're, with the content you're creating, and give yourself a good pace so that you can, like, years from now, you still enjoy doing this thing and you can take breaks when you want to, and it's always reinvigorating for you. If I have to be a 36-year-old adult about it,
Thank you for
that. So in terms of advice in terms of writing a book?
Yep.
I think have an idea. Okay. Before I say something generic unintentionally, know what you want that book to be and know where you're flexible at, because there's definitely a time you're going to work with editors, you're going to work with readers, you're going to work with different folks are going to have their hands on your book, unless you're doing 100%, indie publishing. That's a whole other thing. But like, if you're trying to put out a publication, have an idea of what that book needs to look like and have an idea where you're flexible at. And I would say be flexible somewhere, right? Like, you don't want to be so rigid inside your own head that you don't take any notes or critique that could actually make it better. That you just hadn't thought of yet. But also know where your non-negotiable line is, right? Because I know way too many authors that they're like, yeah, my book came out, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted to be. The publisher had this idea, and like, I thought like maybe that might be okay, and I kind of went with it, but now I regret it. Like, there's so much work on your end as the writer that goes into writing a book. You don't ever want to pour that much work into something and then not be proud of what came out of it. So know where your boundaries are, right? Know where your boundaries are as far as what that book should look like, and know where you're flexible at. And going back to what Omar said in his part, put some ego to the side, but know what you expect, right? Because I say this as a writer well before BNP and everything like that. If you can't take edits, man, you in the wrong game. You in the wrong game.
Real rap.
You really are. But that doesn't mean, the best editor will give you edits where the writing still sounds like you at the end of it, right? It shouldn't sound like them. It should be ways to make you sound your sharpest self. So yeah, have an idea where you want it to be and know where you're willing to bend but not break on.
I like that. You need to like be humble and have your North Star. Yeah. That's awesome. And then, just like Sailor Moon had her, Sailor Moon says phrase at the end of every episode. What will your phrase be? So Sailor Will says, Sailor Omar says, whoever has it first.
Oh man,
I'm definitely putting Omar first.
No.
Not like this. Not like this.
I mean, it's
It's okay if it's cliche.
Oh, it ain't gonna be cliche.
Okay.
It ain't gonna be cliche. It'll just be. I mean, be where that atmosphere be so black.
Yeah.
Oh man, Sailor Williams says. Oh, okay. I you say this to Omar all the time. I still believe this. Come back better the next time, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
So true.
You don't know what you don't know.
So true. Thank you. That was fun. That's always fun. You guys gave really thoughtful ones. And then what's next for both of you, and where can people find you?
Man, that what's next question is so hard.
Why
is that so hard? Omar, I think we should probably find answers to these, because we might get asked this frequently.
My wife kept yelling at me about that. Like, stop being like, and sighing when that happens. Have an answer. I'm like, all right.
So, I
will go.
On the podcast.
I will. I mean, okay. There's some more essays, man. It'll be more essays within a genre, and I will state that genre when I get feedback on the genre. Because that might be the wrong genre at the moment, so I might have to switch. But yeah. If I want to write some essays about wrestling, all right? I'm gonna write some wrestling essays. That's what the fuck I want. I'm gonna do. But if that shit don't work, I'm gonna switch it up. So don't hold me to that, okay? And you can find me at Omar Holman, OmarHolmon, Omar Holman, across all platforms. Real name, no gimmick. So William Evans, William H. Evans. What's next for you, man? What am I gonna do?
I'm probably trying to do too much, but it's going to be something with writing. So I do have another poetry collection I'm kind of messing around with, and I'm dipping my toe into fiction a little bit, writing some fiction. Ooh. So I think those are like my immediate projects. So yeah, nothing that I can report on yet, nothing that's like any good yet, but working on those. And you can find me, my Twitter is Will Evans Writes. Everywhere else you can find me at Will to the WILLTOTHA.
What's the story behind that, by the way? I've been meaning to ask you.
I don't know, man. I think it's like it just popped into my head from like old school rap, Will to the E Hip-hop, to the like that's it. That's it.
Oh man, I love this exclusive.
The inside information. Yeah, that's it. That's where you can find me.
Well, thank you, Will to the. It's gonna be stuck in my head all day now. And of course, you guys can find their book, Black Nerd Problems, out, and the link will be in our show notes. And then, of course, I'm Victoria L. Johnson, host of the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. You can find me at Miss Old School. That's Old School with a K on Twitter and Instagram. I'm on TikTok also at Sailor Victoria. And you can find the podcast at Moonies Club on Twitter and Moonies_club on Instagram. And we have merch at mooniesclub.com. So if you want to check that out, you are more than welcome to. And thanks for listening, Moonies. And thanks, guys, for coming on the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast.